Hello and welcome to the COVID-19 online workshop. I'm Jerry Langford, and this would normally be our National Church Safety and Security Conference in San Diego at the Rock Church. Every June we've met now for 9 years, and this should have been our 10th year, but we're putting off that 10-year conference celebration until next summer so that you can join us here in San Diego on June 16, 17, and 18, 2021. And by the way, you can go to our website right now. Don't leave the workshop, but write this down, sdsecurityconference.com, and you can find out some of the details about next year's 10th celebration. All right, in the meantime, this information is so valuable, we wanted you to have it today. So we're providing you some great speakers and valuable information that you'll be able to use long before our 10th annual conference. All right, so first of all, I'm Jerry Langford. It's been my privilege to be a part of this conference, for many years now, and I'm grateful that they invited me to come back, though I'm a little surprised. But I'm by the way, I'm on the air on K-Wave Las Vegas, K-Wave LA Orange County, and also San Diego's KSDW. And it's my privilege to be here and work with this great safety team and that they've done so much work to put together this online workshop for you today. By the way, in all seriousness, our thoughts and prayers go out to those who've been affected by the COVID-19 coronavirus. It's been devastating to our country, and the pandemic's quarantine has been equally devastating, obviously. But we're grateful that the economy and the community is starting to come back alive. And we're looking forward to moving forward. And that's really what this workshop will focus on, to help us learn how to move forward through these treacherous times. But our thoughts and prayers go out to those who've been affected by the COVID-19 coronavirus. Not just the individuals who have been suffering with this, but their families too. And our hearts go out to you. We're very excited about today's online workshop. We have some guest speakers lined up, some workshops, and even a panel discussion where we'll talk about navigating, moving forward for your church, your synagogue, your mosque. And we're thankful that there are people of all faiths are tuning in today to watch this special COVID-19 workshop. Well, as a matter of fact, I want us to talk about our very first speaker. And our first speaker is none other than Pastor Mingo Palacios. He's actually one of the pastors who's regularly involved and heard as part of the Saddleback Purpose-Driven community. And he's a pastor here in Southern California, and he'll be talking about leading teams during times like this. And I'm looking forward to visiting or hearing from Pastor Mingo, so let's see what he has to say.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. My name is Mingo Palacios. I'm the pastor at Torrey Pines Church currently, but in seasons past, I've operated and served as a young adult pastor at Rock Church for a decade, and then after that, spent a really great season of ministry inside of Saddleback Church, working for Rick Warren, helping revitalize the purpose-driven ministries, which serves tens of thousands of pastors and leaders all over the country and all over the world. And today, the conversation I'm happy and humbled to bring to the table is all about how we can help leaders prepare for a new era of church. And I want to just start with this disclaimer that I am a self-admitted non-professional. I am not a pro when it comes to thinking about what the next new era of church is. I don't think anybody is, because we're currently in it. But here's what I am. I am somebody who loves to talk to other leaders. I love somebody who thinks and listens and learns, and I try to find myself in those positions often, listening to leaders and really looking at the landscape. And I'm hoping that you would see my time as a practitioner and just these notes as really a wireframe for where we all should be aiming our sights, I think, in the next several weeks, the next several months, and really, I think, the next several seasons looking ahead in ministry. If you serve as a leader or a pastor, or maybe you're on a team that serves people, I really want to challenge you to lean in, especially because all of us, I think, need to be in a position where we are actually preparing for what we imagine is going to be this new era of church. So in this conversation, I'd love to help identify what I believe are 3 goals that all leaders, people who serve other people, should be at least addressing in this season. The first goal is going to be to say goodbye to yesterday, right? To understand that what we once knew and what we once felt and what we once lived in as far as a normal rhythm may never come back. And the second one is to increase kingdom impact today. What does it look like for us to take what we know, to harness what we've learned, to address and look at the landscape and really understand how we can increase kingdom impact today? And then thirdly, before we're done, I'd love to take a look at what it looks like and what tools we can bring to the table in order to prepare for a new tomorrow. That's really my goal today. And so here's what I want to do. When I think of the idea of saying goodbye to yesterday, I've had this conversation with a few folks just intermittently as we have been addressing and looking at all of the cultural situations that we all find ourselves in right now. And it is such a triggering word to say goodbye to something that we all loved, something that we were all used to, and something that we all, I think, honestly, if we ask ourselves, desire to go back to in some way, shape, or form. But I think the framework for which we all can healthily look at a way of saying goodbye to yesterday comes from this author and Old Testament scholar and theologian, Walter Brueggemann. Walter, in his book, Spirituality of the Psalms, suggests that there are really 3 orientations or 3 ways that we find ourselves in life repeatedly. That we go through an orientation of life, we find ourselves in a disorientation of life, and then eventually a reorientation of life. And his suggestion is that actually the book of Psalms is written like a wireframe or like a guide that takes us through these 3 existences like a cycle. And as I was reading and understanding what Walter had to say, I think that it's fair for us to say that we are in a disorientation in this very moment. Right? There's nothing that seems to be cemented, nothing that seems to be solidified. Everything seems to be ebbing and flowing on the back of popular opinion in this very moment. So how, as leaders, do we measure our current reality, specifically COVID's effect on culture, and then rising right behind it, racial tension that is affecting our society, both locally and on a global scale? When I think of these, and how it affects local ministry, how it affects local teams and local churches, I can't help but believe that our disorientation began long before we jumped into this season dealing with COVID-19. Long before then, I think it's fair, based on Gallup's research and Barna's research, that religious affiliation and those that identified as Christian were at record lows. That's not just amongst large churches, but that's amongst small churches also. That the term evangelical has become a polarizing word with culture today, not just in America, but globally, as people understand what the ugly or the dark side of evangelical means. It's become such a polarizing space. I think that church attendance by data shows us that the frequency of attendance was in steep decline amongst participating Christians to begin with, and has only accelerated and revealed itself even more in this season. And then lastly, that there is such a massive digital gap that exists between the church and those who the church seeks to reach. And so when we look at the season and the framework that we're in right now as a society, as a culture, as a church at large, I think that COVID and what it did for the church is it really just accelerated. It put a magnifying glass over these true and I think evident statements, and then it forced everybody to address it. It forced all of us to look at it through our own lenses and then tap our own wisdom and our own resources to figure out how we'd address it at a local level, and hopefully how we would band together at a larger level so that we could navigate it together as a cohesive body, not just isolated churches and teams and ministries everywhere, but we'd really be looking laterally to friends in other parts of our city and friends and leaders in other parts of our country so that we could bond together and move forward collectively in a healthy way. Whether we're ready or not, I really do believe that COVID has accelerated long overdue conversations about mission and ministry in our century, right? And I say our century because I do think it's fair. After researching and getting a firsthand look, a front row look at so many ministries across the country over the last 3 years with my time at Purpose Driven, I think there are plenty of churches and ministries that are still running with these similar values and structures since 2000 and probably earlier. Very few things have forced us to really shake the model in a way like we're being shaken right now. And Bill Bridges, another author, writes a book called Managing Transitions, and he teaches 3 phases of transitions. And it's what I think everybody is navigating, obviously, at this moment. Either you're navigating it proactively or you're being forced to navigate it in a reactive position and posture. But he speaks to these 3 things. He says, everybody in navigating transition goes through 3 phases, one of the 3, and you cycle them. The first is the ending, the second is the neutral zone, and then the third is the new beginning. And I think it's strange as a starting place to say that we have to first address the ending, but he says, and I quote, "Before you can begin something new, you have to end what used to be." Let me say that again. Before you can begin something new, you have to face fully what used to be. And for many, I think that this reality, the thought of addressing what used to be, is both saddening and sobering. It's something that I think few have taken the time to actually lament over or to really exhale and to consider what it is that I used to love, some of the things that we used to do, and some of the things that used to bring us the most joy, and actually really consider if those things are really going to be tangible again in our near or distant future. For me, it's stuff like a full Christmas program, right, where people are side by side, shoulder to shoulder, anticipating a full kids choir, right? It's everybody piling together and making a statement, whether it's for your neighborhood or for your community or for your city, right? In our current situation, those realities just don't seem tangible to me in any near or distant future. I've got to consider that if I'm going to embrace something new, that I've got to actually lament what used to be. It's going to help me in a healthy way make my way towards maybe what God would have for each of us in whatever position or role or ministry or team we exist on. I like what Rick Warren says. He says that grief is the only way that you can get through transition. And grief is one of those tough emotions to make your way through because it's so unsettling and it's so uncomfortable. But I love that Rick suggests that it is the best vehicle by which any of us can make our way through transition. So here's what I want to put on the table, at least, these 5 ideas of things that we need to end thinking and decision-making that says a few particular things, right? I think that we need to end this thinking and decision-making that revolves around the idea that pretty soon we're going to get back to quote-unquote normal, right? We need to really give permission to let go of that idea of normal. Why? Because at this point, nobody can really even define normal, right? My Sunday to Sunday doesn't look the same today as it did 2 weeks ago, and it doesn't look the same, honestly, as it did 2 months ago. And I'm certain that my normal isn't going to look the same 2 weeks from now and 2 weeks from then. So I think we need to let go of this idea that pretty soon we're going to get back to some sense of normal. The second one is that digital ministry doesn't really matter and is optional at best. And this one is tough because for most churches, including my own, digital ministry was really a secondary offering. If you couldn't make your way to the building, if you couldn't get to the event, then we offered one camera in the back of the room with a bad angle and some mediocre audio, and that was the best we could get because of budget constraints, because of talent, because of the inability to hire. I just put a camera there hoping that if you couldn't make it, that maybe you could stomach a poor, if not mediocre feed, and then that would get you to the next thing. And today, obviously, digital is like our current lifeline. If you don't have a digital expression, I would argue you don't have a ministry that's actively serving or informing or loving people well, because everything is digital. It's not just in ministry, but it's also in the marketplace. So, digital ministry, if you believed in any way, shape, or form that it didn't really matter or that it was optional at best, I would say today is the day, if you haven't already figured out that you need to be addressing it, is the day to address it. Third, that a better worship service is going to grow your church. Man, we used to live under this tyranny of Sunday. We used to have the mantra that would say, Sunday is king, and everything bows to Sunday. But here's the reality is that while we are disengaged from our buildings and our bricks, nothing has been more important than our consistency and frequency with believers everywhere on every occasion possible. If you thought that just delivering or making a more polished worship service was going to somehow grow your church, I'm sorry to misinform you, but the last 4 months have probably proven to you that no matter how good your feed is, if you're not connecting with and you're not building relationships in real ways, the attention span drops pretty quickly if all you're doing is releasing polished program. The fourth one is this idea that we can just copy whatever fill in the blank does or whatever that church or that ministry did, and I'm sure it'll work inside of our space. Today, here and now, context and capacity make copying anything nearly impossible to do well. Just because you see somebody else do something doesn't mean that you can just copy it and it will be done just as well in your own camp. You've got to think critically. You've got to assess what their rhythms and their context were in order to even imagine or even verify if placing it into your own ministry ecosystem or inside of your own team rhythm would even be a healthy thing to begin with. I think it's great to learn and to look, but you've got to understand what it looks like to lead with a keen and clear purpose in this season and not just click the copy and paste button when you see fit. The last one is one that I've always believed in, and in this context is so funny because we're in a rhythm where we're talking about safety and security, but I really do believe that if we value safety and stability more than innovation and risk in this moment, I think that we're going to lose connectedness to people. I think that safety and stability worked really well when we had buildings full of hundreds and thousands of people. But in a season where we've got to rethink the way we connect to people remotely and decentralized, I think that we have to make space for the pendulum to swing from safety and stability, and we've got to make room for some innovation and for some risk. If we're going to do what we've been called to do, which is people helping people find and follow Jesus. So, if we can give ourselves permission to think that these things need to come to an end, I think it makes space for us to hold open-handedly that which we could step into, which could help us have an effective ministry today and really build kingdom tomorrow. When I talk about increasing kingdom impact today, I think the greatest opportunity is within digital ministry space. It's funny, if you would have had this conversation maybe 3 or 5 years ago, there would have been a conversation and an argument that would have said, I don't know that we can do discipleship by way of digital pathways. I don't know that church is really felt in its fullness in a digital expression. And today, we understand that digital anything is really the frontier of both marketplace, ministry, and everything that lives in between it. How do we set ourselves and our teams up for a digital expression that is just as valuable in a digital context as it is in a personal context? I think there are 5 key ideas that we can put on paper and then address and see which ones rise to the top for us locally and for us personally. The first one I would give you is this: when it comes to increasing kingdom impact today, elevate your connection above your content. Especially in a digital landscape, connection is the thing that brings humanity together, right? When you've been sheltering in place for however many weeks and however many months it's been now, I'll tell you what people, if they were given the choice to have a connection or to have more content, the answer is obvious, right? People long for connection. They long for relationship. They don't need another sermon. They don't need another video. They don't need another vlog or another blog written about some opinion. They need human touch. They need somebody to see them and look at them and say, I see you. I hear what it is that you're going through. I identify with those pain points that you identify with. So in a digital space, how then can we elevate connection above content? I love this idea as you go studying through the New Testament. I think Jesus gives us this great look. Every time he engages with people, he gives them a touch, he gives them a look, and he gives them a word, right? These are all purposeful connections every time he engages with humanity. And I think as we think of our own greatest desires, as we have been locked away or sheltering in place, I think that the things that make us the worst versions of ourselves are actually this disconnectedness from other human beings, right? The disconnectedness from community, the disconnectedness from culture, from your neighborhood. It's so polarizing, it's so isolating. In fact, actually, I think that that's what's spurring a lot of the tension that we're feeling right now, because we have not seen anybody other than ourselves in the mirror for who knows how long. Once we move past this idea of elevating connection above content, I think that we can address what it looks like to customize the content that we do put out there, right? If you're a ministry leader or if you're somebody responsible for putting content online, I'm going to encourage you to do this. Don't just live stream the same thing week in and week out. I think it's fair, just looking at my own data from preaching our own sermons and putting our own content online, that if you're going to produce anything that's predictable on a cycle, you are going to lose your audience fast. So what does it look like then to create program and content in a way that encourages connection, right? That you would be the spark that would lead people to go connect instead of just sit and absorb and consume more content and more content and more content. If you're creating something on a weekly basis, consider adding in new flavors, right? Maybe you do a Q&A on another night. Maybe you do a what's behind the scenes. Maybe you pick up your camera and you go off the tripod and you show them the spaces that you study or the spaces that you prepare, or where are the places that you're actually experiencing a revitalization of your own soul. This is what it looks like to bring a connection and a personalness into your content. Here's what I believe, honestly, and I'm a pastor, lead over a church. If all I do is put a Sunday message up on Sunday and I put a midweek prayer event or a midweek worship event, eventually that's going to grow stale. I've got to change the way people see. I've got to invite them into a more personal space. And I've got to move my cameras off of tripods, and I've got to get them into spaces that reflect real life. I think until we do that, I think we're going to experience an expiration of our content a lot quicker than any of us really want to. The third one is this, that we would understand that in this moment, that quantity is actually better than quality. Now, this is going to be like a fight for some, right? Because everybody wants to put the best out there, the absolute best that you can have out there. And in reality, while we're talking specifically about digital landscapes, you get better the more you put out there, right? I want to say, just by raise of hand, how good was whatever digital meeting you ran, the first one against the last one? You know what the difference was? Your reps. Your at-bats make you a better digital engager and guide. right? So in this conversation, the better your stuff gets is in direct correlation to the amount of times you're taking an effort to get out there. So here's what I tell you in classic Gary V action, right? The more you put out there, the better your content will be. The more you write, the better what you write will be. The more you get up and speak and use your voice, the better your conversations will get. Don't let fear override because you want the perfect shot or the perfect take or the perfect scene to be your standard. You will miss a moment that God created you to speak if you're waiting for perfection to be your framework. Fourth, decentralize and empower leadership and decision making. This is one of the riskiest things, and you can go back to this one key idea that you can structure any team or any ministry for control, or you can structure your team for growth. But here's the deal. You can't do both simultaneously. You have to determine, do you want to structure for growth or do you want to structure for control? And when you address that reality and kind of look at that axis, what you are given if you want growth, both spiritually and scope, is that decentralizing and empowering leadership and decision-making is going to help you hand more maturity and more opportunity to the people that God puts in close proximity to you. New landscapes are always going to require new voices, and if we believe that we can reach more people beyond our traditional metrics have revealed, then we're going to have to invite more people to the conversation and give away more trust and give away more responsibility, trusting that God is going to inspire the same people that you're giving the keys to the way that He inspired you when you were handed the keys, right? And this is a millennial speaking, older millennial, but as many times as I've been trusted with the keys in my own ministry history, I want to encourage you, today could be the day that you're being called to hand some keys away. Right? How do you decentralize and empower leadership in this moment so more people can be met with hope? As we get into the last one, it's all about being transparent, and specifically being transparent about the tension and the challenge that you're sitting in right now. If you don't understand, the best thing you can say is, I don't understand. If you're wrestling and you're doubting, the best thing you can do for your teams is to have a team meeting and say, I don't understand and I'm wrestling and I'm doubting. Right? We had this conversation in our own team. I have a team of 7, and I was feeling so drained and so tired, and I felt like I could not grab a hold of something to hope onto for the next Sunday, and I just brought them in to that mess with me. Now, here's what a lot of people are tempted to do. They're tempted to bring a camera and hit record and let the whole world see the mess that they're in, and here's what I'm suggesting. Have a conversation with the people that you trust the most before you hit record and you go public on something. Let transparency start with the people that you trust. And then as you have this conversation, if you see it fit to bring the whole world in because you hit record or go or live or whatever, let it be with the accountability of the people that you've brought into your safe space. The bottom line is, if you're not being transparent about the tension and the challenge you're feeling right now about your ministry, you're missing a moment to lead people to Jesus. So then how do we take from saying goodbye to the opportunities that we have in front of us about increasing kingdom impact today? And how do we bundle that together and prepare for a new tomorrow? Here's the first that I'd like to give you. Integrate digital into your structure. Don't silo it, right? Don't just give somebody a task, which is, hey, make sure this ends up on Instagram or on Facebook, or if anybody missed the meeting, if you could just send them the recording. Don't isolate it that way, but figure out ways that you can actually integrate digital into the regular rhythm of your space. You probably have to introduce some new folks to your team. You probably have to rethink the way certain things are done, but the quicker you can integrate digital into your structure, into your space, and into your ministry, the quicker you're going to have the reach that everybody is needing in order to participate in that which you are trying to put out there. The second one is think digital micro. I call that local impact more than digital macro, which you're probably assuming is a global impact. Here's the reality is if you're not doing a good job of loving the people who God has put you in close proximity to, you cannot for 1 minute think that he's going to utilize you for a global impact beyond the people that you currently have access to. Right? So how do you think about serving the people digitally that you've got close? When you were in a room, right, that sat 1,000, the trained communicator would be taught to speak to the person in the back of the room because everybody in the front of the room was already invested. And I think in this digital landscape, it's actually flipped upside down. You show the people in the back of the digital room how valuable it is to be connected and in relationship when you speak to the people who are in the front of the digital room. So how do you call out those relationships that you have? How do you say, hey, it was great to see you at the coffee shop last week or yesterday? How do you make tangible, evident relationship calls for people that you're doing life and ministry with so that those on the outside who are wondering if they actually can belong also have a sense of evidence or a pathway of breadcrumbs that say, I've seen this person in a digital scape make call outs to people that he knows, and I know they're on because I can see him in the chat. I think I can belong to this community also. If he's doing that there, I can imagine myself inside this sphere. Right? That's what I mean by think digital micro more than think digital macro. Everybody thinks, man, I'm online, I'm going to reach everybody around the world. Yeah, maybe if God allows you to do that, but your first mission are the people that God has put you in proximity to first. So what does that look like? Next, champion innovation, right? Champion innovation, embrace risk, and fail regularly. Those are my favorite permissions to give anybody who serves on my teams. Everybody, when they come to a team, they want to be so perfect. They want to do things the perfect way. And here's the problem is the perfect way often is the way that we've done things in the past. And so you don't give permission for people to rethink and reimagine what could be because they're afraid of failure. I think when we champion innovation, when we embrace risk, I was told when I worked at Saddleback, fail fast and fail cheap. Why? Because every failure that you have is actually a roadmap to say, we're going to get closer to the thing that will work. And in the digital landscape, man, failure is cheap by way of monetary cost, right? You do a worship night and you think it's going to work one way, you just scrap it if it didn't work. You think you're going to do something cool by going online and doing something, and it ends up totally flopping and you've got no viewers. Here's the beauty. Everybody watching online in this season has digital amnesia. And this is what I mean by digital amnesia. It means that what is front page news today is totally forgotten 7 days later. You want proof of this? When you send an invite for a Zoom meeting on Monday that's supposed to happen on Saturday, how many people remember Saturday that Zoom meeting is supposed to take place? 0. Why? Because they have digital amnesia. So take the grace of that amnesia and fail fast and try as many things as you can. The next one is develop leaders through real-time ministry opportunities. Man, I can't express the value of this enough. People will not wait if you force them into a 6-week qualifying rhythm before they get the reins to jump into ministry. The best ministry leadership is on-the-job training, when you can walk with somebody through their effort, make course corrections, and keep pushing them forward in Jesus' name. If you can develop leaders through real-time ministry opportunities, I think the potential of your ministry reach is way beyond your own visible scopes. People want to be a part of a team that releases power, that releases authority, and that releases courage. Not one that says, prove to me that you know the 16 laws before I give you the keys to go around the block. It's challenging, but I think what all of this does is it develops in us digital muscles, right? If you're not somebody who's practicing, who's in the weight room working out these new rhythms, you won't be developing the kind of digital muscle that you need to exist and thrive in this season. So 5 key indicators as I recap and close this down. What does it look like to integrate digital into your structure beyond just a follow-up video link? What does it look like to think digital micro, the places that God has put you and the people he's put you close to, before you think digital macro, right? The global impact. What does it look like to champion innovation and embrace risk and fail regularly? How can you develop leaders through real-time ministry opportunities? And finally, would you be willing to decentralize ministry to people and places beyond your control, right? This is where I think all of us can end. That the idea of influence goes so much farther than the idea of authority in this moment. I want to be somebody who influences people towards their greatest potential, not wave my authority in front of them so that they can respect something I've done in a season past. I think this is all of our opportunity as we look to the way that the gospel moves forward in the local church. Whatever role or position you play, how are you using the influence that God has given you, the experience that you've had, so that you can propel other people forward, not so that you can stand on top of a resume of achievements. I think this is where we see influence having the upper hand over authority in this new season. I hope these ideas challenged you. I know for certain they're challenging me. And here, again, I'm going to tell you that I'm no expert, but man, I am eagerly looking at how these rhythms are going to shape not just my church, but my own personal life and the ministry that God has given me to steward and to serve today. Let me pray for you, and we'll move to the next session. Jesus, thank you for everybody watching. My prayer is that they would be equipped, that they would be challenged, Lord, and that they would lean in. Or maybe they've got a discrepancy or a disagreement. Lord, would you reveal to us what contextually works in our own spaces? We love you, Jesus. We pray that you would be glorified in each of these efforts. In your name I pray. Amen. Talk to you soon.
Life is precious, and it can be put at risk in an unexpected instant. Disasters don't come with warnings. Therefore, it's up to us to be prepared ahead of time. We have to gather knowledge and have the foresight and planning necessary to navigate dangerous conditions. We have to act immediately and respond in real time to life-saving information, because emergencies can escalate at a moment's notice. Because staying informed can be the first step to staying safe and saving your life and the lives of others. Every life is worth saving, and everyone deserves to be safe. Cutting response time significantly, mitigating liability and danger, and minimizing loss can be a titan of a task. Disasters don't come with warnings, so we must come prepared. Titan HST, because good enough is not good enough when it comes to life.
Hi, I'm Philip Kazan. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO at Verkada. At Verkada, we're building the world's best video security system. What that means is no NVRs, no DVRs, just a software-driven solution that delivers modern security to your building. Let me show you how it works. When you log into Verkada Command, you'll see one single dashboard where you can view all of your cameras all around the world. What's amazing about this dashboard is it works on any device. So if you're on your tablet on the go, you can view your cameras and monitor the situation. All of this works with no network configuration, so you don't have to worry about logging into VPNs or setting up firewall rules to make the system work. When you zoom in on the map, you'll see a floor plan, and on this floor plan, all of your cameras will be laid out within your building. Clicking through any one of them will pull up the live video. So let's take a look at that. Here we can see one of the cameras that's outside of our office in San Mateo looking at the street. You can see the cars driving by and people walking by, and that's really what that live view up top of the page is about. Now, as I scroll down the page, what you'll see is a history view of the camera, which captures everything that the camera has recorded. And we store up to 120 days of that history. What's awesome about the history view is that it's broken down into hourly chunks. And so for any given point in time, I can hover my mouse and move it from left to right to see everything that was happening at that exact point in time. It's a very, very easy way to browse the camera's history and find out about the incidents that occurred. Now, we wanted to actually take it a step further, and so with that we introduced motion search. I can scroll back up to the top of the page and highlight any region of the frame to find out exactly what happened at that spot. So for example, if I highlight the crosswalk in this scene here, I will instantly get results of all the cars and people that crossed through the spot that I highlighted. What's awesome about this is I can also set alerts to be notified about any activity in any particular region. Let's switch gears a little bit and take a look at one of the cameras in our office. Imagine you wanted to see everyone who've entered and exited your space. For this, we've developed a feature called Face Search. With Face Search, you can pull up a list of the individual faces of people entering or exiting a camera's view. So as I scroll down the page now, I can see everyone who's appeared in frame. If I click on Scott, I can now pull up all the times where Scott entered and exited the frame. Last but not least, I wanted to show you just how easy it is to share access to any Verkada camera in real time. With just a click of a button, you can send an SMS message with a link that gives temporary access to any number of users in the world. On the receiving end, it's just a link. You can pull it up on your phone, view live video, browse the history, and in emergency situations, respond in real time. If you have any questions, or if you'd like a free trial, please contact us at sales@verkada.com. Thanks for watching.
Hey guys, my name is Robert Russell and I'm one of the creators of pastorstoolbox.com. I also have the privilege of serving as worship pastor at a church here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And just like you, I cannot wait for the church doors to be opened again. It is an interesting time, and I believe the way that we handle the next few months matter. I believe the ultimate way to care for people is to develop a plan. You know, when it comes to technology, it used to be an option, but now it's necessary. And at Pastor's Toolbox, we believe that technology is going to continue to play an important role for the faith community. And that inspired this idea of an RSVP system. We call it our Save a Seat tool. It's a customizable RSVP software that enables faith leaders to control, measure, and communicate capacity. The Save a Seat software is designed with simplicity in mind. It's user-friendly for the church leader and the churchgoer. Both of those are important. The tool generates a unique link for each place of worship to share across social media platforms and embed on their websites. It's such a neat tool. And you know what? It scales. Depending on the size of your congregation, church leaders have the ability to offer reservations to multiple campuses, services, days of the week, different service times, and even it allows for capacity management with overflow venues. So for large churches, small churches that have overflow options, this is a tool for you. You know, one click places the attendee in the reservation process. Attendees receive a confirmation for every request, and because life happens, the confirmation has a cancel reservation option, which immediately frees up their spot for someone else. We believe in this tool. Our belief is that this tool will help the church gather again with the same regard that has been given to social distancing. We need to take this seriously. You know, and we need to have a plan. Strategy is an act of love. Regulating capacity will be a continued measure to respect government requests and keep our faith community safe. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you know someone that needs to see this video, go ahead and send it to them. We want all churches to hear about this. We believe this is instrumental in the church gathering safely.
Radio service, radio check.
Bearcom is always on. All day, every day, our products, solutions, and associates are always on and can be counted on to serve our customers' needs. As North America's largest distributor of wireless voice, data, and video solutions for business, education, and public safety applications, Bearcom delivers the right wireless solution for every environment. We design and deploy solutions that improve efficiency and boost productivity while adding safety and security to over 16,000 customers across the US and Canada. Bearcom serves customers from multiple locations across North America, as well as from its state-of-the-art 96,000 square foot headquarters located in Garland, Texas. From this facility, Bearcom programs, kits, and distributes over 49,000 sales orders per year with a 98% accuracy, and maintains a product inventory of nearly 15,000 items in our warehouse to reduce back orders and better serve our customers. Additionally, Garland serves as Bearcom's national repair depot and the distribution hub for over 30,000 push-to-talk rental devices, including over 2,000 extended push-to-talk devices. This rental inventory supports the nation's largest festivals, television award shows, and professional sporting events, satisfying over 16,000 customers annually. Bearcom headquarters also supports a network operations center, which remotely monitors key customer sites for system disturbances, allowing service technicians to be quickly dispatched to avoid costly delays. Bearcom has unmatched North American resources and local presence in most major cities, with branch locations ranging from Alberta to Toronto in Canada and from New York to Los Angeles in the US. This breadth of coverage allows Bearcom to locally serve our customers with customized end-to-end solutions and the highest levels of service. With a national field service team of over 165 trained and certified technicians, Bearcom can manage sophisticated public safety, petrochemical, and manufacturing solutions to routine break-fix repairs for any customer. At Bearcom, when jobs and lives are on the line, you can trust us to provide wireless solutions and services that keep everyone connected, improve productivity, and deliver a greater sense of security every time. Bearcom, always on.
Our world today requires video security everywhere. City streets, hospitals, school campuses. Security operators are faced with an overwhelming amount of information, and knowing what is most important is becoming more and more difficult. Avigilon is here to make security easier and more effective, so you can protect people and businesses. We provide security solutions for each step of the way to help you build an integrated system that can connect the dots before you do to help ensure critical events don't go unnoticed. From technology that tells you when something isn't right, to ultra-high definition cameras that can see more even in extremely challenging conditions, to video management software that can search for someone with a click of a button, and access control systems that allow you to instantly lock down an area to make it more secure. Our products and technology work together to make security more efficient. Avigilon is proud to be made in America with local expertise and globally sourced materials. Through our integrations with Motorola Solutions, our products and technologies leverage the critical communication networks that those working on the front lines rely on day in and day out, helping you to act quickly from the time an emergency call is placed until after an incident is resolved. In a world full of information, our attention is a scarce resource. But with Avigilon Solutions, you can focus on protecting what matters most.